some demonic utterance that people are uttering in churches, thinking they're speaking in tongues. Listen to this and listen to me. You rather pray in a language you understand than getting deeper in tongues that you don't understand. Unless you are driven by the Spirit. And even when you are driven with the Spirit, you will hear in your mind what the Spirit is communicating. The first translator of the tongue is you yourself, the speaker. So there are some words that are being mentioned which are chanting words from the world of darkness. And when they are chanted in church, people think that those pastors, those bishops are speaking in tongues. No, they are summoning spirits. They speak by summoning spirit because spells are released in three ways. Either you are chanting, or you are singing, or you are doing an action based. So out of chanting, out of singing, out of the word, and out of action based, you can discharge a spell. When you go to the sorcerers and witches, you'll find them with some calabash and some rings and some, things that make a lot of noise, chwa, 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 and they normally sing. And they sing a language that no one can understand. But what are they summoning? So today we have so many bishops and so many pastors who have gone to the underworld to seek powers, and they were given coded words which they utter in the altar. They utter while on the altar. And many people think that they are speaking in tongues when they are summoning spirits, evil spirits. Remember, devil is very good in creating counterfeit deals, counterfeit things. So everything that the Lord released to us, devil has a copyright of it, an imitation of it. And so if you are not very careful, you might be operating with imitation. That is the reason why Christ said, some of us will stand in his presence and will say, Lord, in your name we did, in your name. But he will say, go away, I don't know you. Because the work you did was not mine, was for your father, the devil. Why? Because devil is very good in creating counterfeit. Devil is very superior. Devil is very professional in creating counterfeit. And if you don't tread careful with the devil, the time he will steal you and you start serving him, you will never even know. Because the line between true work of Christ, true work of the Father, and the fake work is very thin, that even when you cross this side, you may not know that you have crossed. That's why the Bible keeps on warning us and telling us, remember how you received, remember how you are called, keep the same standard. The line is too thin that even when you cross, you may not know that you have crossed. You might think you are doing the will of God. You might think that you are serving God. Kumbe, you left the path long time ago without knowing. And this is evidence in the Word of God. The line is too thin. It is too thin that even Miriam and Aaron could not know when they crossed the path to the other side until when they were bitten with leprosy. They couldn't just tell. It was too thin that even Gehazi didn't know that the leprosy of Naaman could end up on him, because the line is too thin to tell. It is too thin to tell. That line is too narrow that you can't tell it if you are not careful. The line is too thin that even Moses himself couldn't recognize when he struck the stone instead of touching, hitting, pointing the staff on the stone, that could cost him later. The line is too thin. You can only keep this line safe if you learn to accept something very horrible, there is something very horrible that people don't like. Many people who think they have made it, many people think they have grown in spirit, many people think they are powerful, many people who look at their salvation, the years they were born in salvation, they don't like it. That line is called the line of accepting rebuke from the top, from the master. Many people don't like it. When it comes to rebuke, people will rebel. But let me tell you, if you have a problem with rebukes from your mentor or your master, then you are operating on a very thin, dangerous line. That's why Christ rebuked Peter and told him, devil, go back. For you don't know things of God, but you know things of men. Look at the words of the Lord to Peter. He's telling Peter, go back. You don't know things of God. You know things of men. Because the line is too thin for Peter to see. Oh, Peter, I know how much you love me. But I'm telling you, the cock shall not crow before you deny me 3 times. Why? Because Peter just said, me. Ha! Lord, someone to come and touch you. He'll have to touch me first. You don't know who I am. And the Lord looked at him and told him, Peter, I'm praying for you. I am praying for you. With these words you have said here, I am praying for you so that temptation should not overwhelm you. And Peter was like, no, you don't need to pray for me. My decisions are my decisions. Me, I don't turn my back on decisions I've made. And the Lord told him, Peter, a cock shall not crow before you deny me 3 times. Why? Because the line is too thin. Many people backslided without knowing that they backslided, but they are still preaching. But the Lord left them long time ago. Many people backslided without knowing they backslided, but they are still making noise in the spirit. But the Lord left them long time ago. Why? Because that line is very thin, very, very thin to be identified. But if you accept rebuke from your mentor, it's a big line that you can see it. So that is where the difference comes from. So the line between cord and spell is very thin, that one must tread very careful.